So keep in mind, Gameloft is a big company, 6,000 people. They have quite a lot of money. And for, I would say, some obvious reasons, they wanted to open a studio in Finland. So keep in mind about it's not really being a startup coming to Finland. It's really more opening a startup for a big studio. A little bit about myself to put things into perspectives, to understand who I am. Okay, I've been working in the hardware industry for quite a while. I have been building aircraft, beer, very nice, and camping stove. For 10 years, I've been working in factories, manufacturing goods. I was quality managers, improvement managers, and then I moved to Finland. And in Finland, I found one industry that welcomed my knowledge about dealing with people, dealing with product, dealing with process, and that was the game industry. And actually, Arya was the one who hired me. And she said, you know what, we're going to hire you, but you're not really a gamer, you're not really a programmer, so it's a huge risk, taking you in the company. And yes, I had 4 months to make my proof, but it worked out well. 10 years later, I'm still working in the game industry in Finland. And for those who are wondering, I am French, by the way. So I moved from France to Finland 10 years ago. So I worked 7 years at Digital Chocolate, Tower Blocks, J2ME, moved to Facebook, a smartphone, iOS, Android, Windows Phone, etc. Then I made a little break of the game industry. I worked in a company, in a startup doing interactive images. And very interesting, the discussion about educational games, because we thought we were going to create a social network about people creating interactive images and sharing them to each other. But we found two industries very interested in this product. One was the education, how a teacher will give a task to a student to create, hey, there is Roland Garros this week, tell me everything you know about sport, tell me everything you know about tennis by putting interaction into an image. And the other one was journalism. So journalism, how to make an article more interactive. And I echo definitely what we said about education doesn't really have money, doesn't really have budget. It's very hard at the moment to make money with educational games or educational services. But I think I agree with the panel, there is a future there, and somebody will figure out a good way to monetize, a good way to retain people in this business. Then Gameloft, so Helsinki, so Supercell, so Rovio, so all these incredible stories, and said, why not us? Why don't we open a studio in Helsinki? And this is what I'm going to talk about today, right? My experience here. And a year later, I stayed a year at Gameloft, and a year ago, I moved to Angry Birds, and very happy to be in the year of the movie, very happy to be in the year of Angry Birds 2. And this is where I am. So I'm representing Rovio today in this conference, but I'm going to tell you about Gameloft. So a timeline, to give you an idea about how long it took us to set up a studio. January 14, paperwork, lawyers, we established a company. I was hired 3 months later. I was the first employee as a general manager. And we moved into the office 5 months after the company established with 3 employees. We had an engineer, we had a person, technical office manager, and then we had myself as a general manager. So you would say 5 months to move into a studio. I would say it's quite long, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of studios in Helsinki, and I would have hoped that it would have been faster, but this is what it took. A year later, a little bit more, a year later, we had a full team hired with the 2 last hired. One was the producer and the art director. That was the last 2. And we had a team of 17 people, roughly, fully functional into an office that was set up. We had all the furniture, all the Wi-Fi, all the computers, etc. Everything was working. For the little story, this is when we canceled our first game. So during all that time, we tried to develop a game. We tried to move forward with the production of a game, but we decided to kill it. So roughly at the same time that we managed to put the office together, the team together, we reset the first game, and I left. I went to Rovio. So let's talk about the office. So to give you an idea, we talk a lot about money during the panel. It's true that the impression that we get from the discussion is Finland is not a cheap country. Finland is not a cheap country. We pay tax, but we can see what we get for. So it's a very It's a very well-organized country, very clean, amazing education, a very, very safe country. But everything is a little bit more expensive. I don't know yet. The first time I'm in Russia, I've been here only a few hours, but I got the impression that St. Petersburg seems to be cheaper than Finland. So this is an idea to give you an idea of the price we paid. So for 25 people, very comfortable office, we paid 7,500 euro per month. All right? Now, you have to consider that in Helsinki city center, you can have hot seats for 500, maybe 300, maybe 600, maybe 700, but let's say 500 euro per month per person. You come in, you pay, and you're sitting. You get the Wi-Fi, you get your seat, you get your chair, you get your table, you get the coffee machine, you get the receptionist, you get everything, you get the printer. And this is that. So if you want to start a business and if you want to focus, as you should, on the product, maybe the second option might be a good option for us, right? But Gameloft needed a studio, needed a presence in Helsinki, and we went for the full-blown studio. One thing I want to highlight here is that even though there are a lot of offices in Helsinki, the negotiation about the contract was quite difficult. So again, Gameloft, 6,000 people, I don't know how many lawyers, but there was one lawyer that looked at the contract for the office and said, no, I don't want this, I don't want that. And this made a lot of back and forth with the person renting the office to us, and that took us a lot of energy, more than necessary. Again, when you started a studio, you want to focus on the product, maybe not really on negotiating the contract of your office. Also, very surprising to all of us, having an internet connection to the office, like a definitive one, a very reliable, high-speed internet connection was difficult. We had to buy this 4G SIM card and put it on a little receiver for a couple of months, and only after a couple of months we get the internet. It was okay. I mean, we didn't need a lot of communication, but that was a little bit of surprise for all of us on that side. One point I want to highlight here, it's Finland is a country of respect, and we respect a lot the nature. We recycle a lot of things. And when we say recycle, when we say second hand, for us, it's almost as new. You can buy furniture, office furniture that looks new to us, but they are refurbished, they are clean, and they are sold as a second-hand market. What does it mean? It means to open a studio, to put furniture inside a studio. It's quite cheap at the end of the day. The rent might seem quite expensive, but everything else is very cheap if you're not going for the bling-bling high-end furnitures. But at the end of the day, we had an amazing office. We had a sea view, we had all the space, we had a game room, we were super, super happy. So a little bit of difficulty along the way, but in terms of working environment for all of us, this office in Helsinki was really, really a great place to work, a great place to be creative. We were extremely happy. Let's talk about the recruitment. We talk about nationality. What if the person asking will be Russian? What if the person asking will be Finnish? Helsinki, and I will say southern Finland, is very, very international. There's no difference if you are... I mean, again, I'm French, I live in Finland. I don't feel I've been treated differently from anybody else, any of my Finnish colleagues. But it is true that it is difficult to find high talent at the moment in Helsinki, so we had to relocate people from different countries. So we had a Russian living in Czech Republic, which was quite interesting in terms of visa application, paperwork, all the Schengen matters and everything. That was quite interesting, but we did manage to get this person. We had a person coming from Ukraine, Canada, and Turkey. And to be honest, that was fairly easy. In terms of relocation cost, this is what we offered. I'm not saying this is what everybody offers, but what we offered is a 5,000 euro package only based on expenses. So we don't give some 5,000 euro. It's just, hey, what are your costs? Plane ticket for you, maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend, if you have a family, with your family, some boxes to come from your country, and initial cost of hotel. But we will always cap it to 5K. So again, 5K is quite a lot of money, but at the end of the day, to find really good talent is not that much of a money. But we were able to find very, very talented people outside of Finland. If you look at the whole office, on top of those nationality, we had person coming from China, UK, France, obviously, Bulgaria, India, and Finland. So out of 17 people, we get all these different nationality, and trust me, we had a bit more Finnish people than others, but it was a very, very international community inside the office. So you can imagine the gaming community in Helsinki, how multinational it can be. I spoke about the visa application, super fast visa application for people coming from outside Finland, especially in the game industry. The Finnish government is supporting the game industry. Understand it's a very special industry for the country. So whenever we have a request for a visa, it's done very, very, very easily and quickly. To recruit, we use the industry headhunter. Arya, who's here, has been helping us to recruit. But the reality is there's so much competition, there's even competition at the headhunter level. So the majority of our recruit didn't come from this channel, but came more from our personal network, who we knew inside the industry in Finland. So if we hire somebody, we'll contact his colleague and say, hey, I just got this new job, it's pretty cool, the office is amazing, there's a sea view, you should join. LinkedIn, just the good old LinkedIn scouting, contacting people and say, hey, I've got this amazing project, will you be interested? And then job ads. There's a very good, efficient, very cheap way of advertising ads in Finland. And also Arya here is supporting one, which is a very unique place to be. So all this works extremely well. By far, the artists were the hardest to find. If you want an art style that is not passé, that is not Clash of Clans, that is not something from 2 years ago or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you want something that is very present, that is almost cutting edge to the future, somebody who works and constantly update his skill and really looking for what the art tomorrow, next year is going to be, this was difficult. And we didn't want to compromise on the art. We all understand the importance of marketing, of user acquisition nowadays into the business. The art is the first thing, is maybe the only thing that get people to click on a Facebook ad before they download a game. So we didn't want to compromise on that. That was the hardest. Not only the artist that had to come from everywhere in the world, but the art director. That was the last recruit that we did. By the way, we got a lot of applicants from Russia, Ukraine, from east of Finland, and it's not a criticism, but there is a style. There's something that you learn at school that you can recognize. I can see a portfolio without a name, without a nationality, and I can recognize the Russian style. So of course I make a generality here, but it's amazing. There were a lot of people interested to move to Finland from Russia and Ukraine, especially. But that portfolio was not what we were looking for. It was a little bit too old style, a little bit too hidden object type of art, and we wanted something a lot more modern. So if I have one comment to make about the art education in Russia and in Ukraine, would be really to work on that, how to get to the next level, how to get to the future of game art. Attrition, out of 17 people, we had 4 people that came and leave, 1 that we terminated before the end of the trial period, and 3 that left. 1 due to visa, the other one due to misunderstanding what he was coming to do, and he was disappointed and he left. And the third one, I just don't remember. So 20% attrition, first year setting up a studio. This is always a good information. In order to get 17 people, you need to hire 21 people, roughly. By the way, if you have any question, just raise your hand in the middle of the presentation there. You don't have to wait for the end. And there's a growing trend. I'm being honest here, I don't want to scare anybody, but this is a growing trend we have in Finland, is that some people, because at Gameloft, in order to recruit people, we send tests. It's very true for artists. Give me your portfolio, I like your portfolio. Hey, here's a test. Can you spend a few hours doing a test? A lot of artists say, whoa, how much do you pay? So I think artists were afraid that we will ask them to do art that will end up in our game. And we told them, well, look, we're Gameloft. We're not going to use your art in our game. No, I'm not doing any work for free. Kind of fair enough for artists, kind of fair, I understand. But then we had a producer say, whoa, hey, I don't do any tests unless you pay me. A producer. Okay. So that's something you have to be ready for. It's not big, but it puts a smile on my face. So it's interesting to keep in mind if you think that you have to recruit in Finland. Long list of perks. So I don't want to scare you. Remember, Finland is an amazing country to work. We have conditions of work which are amazing, and in the game industry, which is according to Corpay, 2,700 people, we get used to our little perks, and we get more perks, but we never give up perks. So the list of perks we get gets longer and longer. But at the end of the day, again, I don't want to scare you, but this is a little bit of the reality about what people expect when they join a game company in Finland, especially in Helsinki. So free mobile phone. They want the latest iPhone. They want the latest Android. They don't want the previous iPhone model. They just want the latest one. There's also a very good tax system when you pay a little bit of money, part of your salary, and the company is allowed to pay your phone bills for you. Of course, you have to be careful about that, but people expect that. If you don't have that, people will not take you very, very seriously. Of course, for a startup, it's very different. If you have proper stock option or stocks, people will be ready to do compromise. But if it's a company that is already running, is making revenue, and is profitable, people will definitely look for that. Lunch voucher, people don't want to pay for their food anymore, even though it means that they still pay for it, but they have the feeling they don't pay for their food anymore. It's a little bit the Google Silicon Valley aspect. Sport voucher, hey, we're in the game industry, we need to be super healthy. Give me money so I can do some sport. So this is how we are in Helsinki. Home internet, especially for companies that are in multi-location. Hey, I need to call my boss at night, so give me the home internet. Please pay for my home internet. These things like that. Free drinks, snacks, game room, cool office, all this goes together. This is, again, the Google aspect. You want an amazing office, you want free food, and you want a game room. And the game room is not necessary to have breaks during the day. It's because you will find out that the office is very often used after working hours and during weekends by employee and their family, or employee and their friends, which is really cool for virality, for attracting new talents. Because, hey, we got this amazing new Gameloft office. Do you want to come and play some games over the weekend? And then, people get interested. Oh, this is a cool place to work. Well, they have a very nice game room. By the way, what project are you working on? This is a way to attract people also. 7 to 5 office hours. So when you're in a startup, you don't really understand that. It's difficult to understand that. I have to admit, being French from Paris, when you work 12, 14 hours for a salary of 8 hours, I didn't understand that. But this is how Finland is. This is how you balance work, life, work, family, work, drinks at IGDA with your colleagues. This is how you balance. This is really, really good. And I don't take that as a negative point. Take that as a very positive point where you're very focused on what you do from 9 to 5. And after that, by the way, you might stay at the office, but you might play board game, you might be in the game room, you might have some beers at the office. Things that, being French, I can't imagine having a beer at the office. I'll get the lawyers on my shoulders in 2 minutes. Stock option and bonuses, we mentioned that also in the panel. This is, startup versus big company. People expect that. And the growing trend, people start not to like the fact that if they work in the game industry, they can't work at home on another game and publish it. They don't like it. They want to be able to not only work on game during the day, but they want to be able to work on game during the night, their own game, and they want not only to make the game, but they want to publish it and have a chance to make some money and have some kind of revenue stream. This is growing, this is not big, but you can feel, as the year goes around, this is growing and growing. Services, very quickly on the services, we get the law firm, this is start. Advice to you, if you want to come to Helsinki, of course, talk to all the panelists that are here, contact me, contact Oleg. We will all help you for sure. But other than that, talk to a law firm. There are a few law firms that are specialized in the game industry. They will be your starting point and they will do what to do. We were Gameloft, so we needed a very official auditor that will audit all the accounts, all the P&L on a regular basis. So that was found very easily. Paris had their very strict requirement for the auditor. We found it no problem. Accounting, super easy. Payroll, tax, super easy. Office cleaning, super easy. Actually, no. Office cleaning was strangely difficult. But, all those are available in Helsinki, super easy to set up. Walk in the park, move on. Now, one surprise, though, you understand that we ramped up from 1% to 17% over the course of 1 year. And on day one, the tax office asked me, okay, how many man-months are you going to be over the year? So it's average of 17, was it 8.5 times 12? We're going to be roughly 8.5 people, in average, 8.5 people across the year. So on day one, they asked me to pay the equivalent of tax as if we were 8.5 people. But I'm only one. Yeah, but in average, you'll be 8.5. So it's very funny on month one, when you're alone at the office, to pay this big amount of tax. So I don't know if this can be negotiated. Again, we were Gameloft, there was some cash. I just had to explain that to headquarters in Paris. Maybe for a startup you can negotiate, but I have to admit I was a little bit surprised. But that's how tax are working in Finland. The games. So you will understand that Gameloft opening a studio in Helsinki, they put a lot of hope on the studio. And I have to admit we felt it. It's like, God, we have to get something out that is good. I mean, come on, this is the pride of Finland. This country of Supercell and Rovio. What are we going to put on the market that Paris will be proud of? I mean, all this investment they're doing is going to pay off. There's something we had to gain the trust of headquarters somehow. I mean, again, we are Finland, but we had to gain the trust. And also there was a project manager, the guy coming from Romania, whose job this year was, hey, your job this year, and your bonus is going to depend on that, is you're going to open a studio in Helsinki, and it's going to be in the next Supercell. So we had to gain the trust of this guy. We had to trust the gaze of his boss. We had to trust the gaze of headquarters. And we were just few guys that got hired to make a new studio in Helsinki. We could have been any startup, except we had a big Gameloft label on our front head. So I have to admit, we felt it. And then the team had to discover, and I would say almost guessed, and adapt to the company's production frame or framework. So Gameloft has a way to develop games. You can imagine they have a big documentation to explain what is alpha, beta, and concept, and soft launch, and global launch, and etc., etc. But they assume because we are from Finland, the country of Supercell and Rovio, they know what we're talking about. They just assume that whatever they have invented in Paris, we have the same terminology, definition, process to follow. So they just said, just go ahead. But after a while, they say, wait a second, our first milestone is this. So how do you answer to all those questions? How do you answer to all this? Oh, I don't know. You didn't tell us. We were just, we're just making games. We're making great games. So all this puts a lot of pressure on the team, I have to admit. So if you are to set up a studio from scratch in Helsinki, over-communicate on what your expectations are. So, recommendation, set expectations early, very early, repeat them again and again and again. Don't assume that people work the same way you are, especially in two different countries like France and Finland, or it will be Russia and Finland. Acknowledge the role and the responsibility. What is a product owner? What is a scrum master? What is a producer? Who's responsible? Is it the designer or is it the producer? Is it the designer or is it the product owner? All these, just don't assume that the definition of a product owner is the same in one country or another, in one place or another. Schedule milestone and review. So you're going to start this game, and I'm going to review this, this, and that at this date. Be super clear on that one. And that we were missing at Gameloft. Give freedom. We ended up at Gameloft in a cycle of constant review from once a month to once a week to once a day. If I tell you once every minute, I would not be far from the truth. Imagine somebody on Skype checking what you're doing every minute and commenting on what you're doing every minute. It's not hell on earth, but it's not what I signed up for, right? So give freedom. You hire people that you trust, and you give them freedom to do their job. This is very important. And again, I'll just repeat it. Don't assume that all the game studios work the same way. So just, make sure you set the expectations very early. So what did we learn? How am I doing on time? 5 minutes? Okay. What did we learn? Again, cost. I thought that might be interesting for you. We had, for 17 people, we had around 100K per month in euro. And total year one was 850,000 euro. Just to give you an idea. Don't assume that your general manager will be your product owner or product lead. At the same time, he's going to produce or scrum master. And at the same time, he's going to hire your team. You are GM, product owner, scrum master, and hiring manager. It's hell. Don't assume if you want to do that, make sure you have proper responsibility and proper staffing for that. Something that worked very, very well, that we had an office assistant and a office tech that are native. They can negotiate everything in their own language in Finnish, and that works extremely well for that. Don't hire foreigners that speak good Finnish. It's not good enough. Hire Finnish people who speak Finnish, who've been living in Finland for 30 years. That's the best thing that can happen to you. And also something about TechS. We talk a lot about TechS. TechS is an amazing program about government funding. But for Gameloft, it was not that easy. Actually, it was almost impossible to get any money. So we didn't even bother. We didn't even ask, spend any time in paperwork. That was just more complicated. Another company Another big company that did a very similar exercise than Gameloft, opening a studio in Helsinki, also just didn't bother with TechS. So TechS might be good for smaller companies than bigger companies coming to Finland. What went well? Office setup went extremely well. Law firm, accounting, payroll setup extremely well. Advertising job, very efficient, very cheap. But obviously networking is better. So you need to have people in the root of the game industry. We were integrated to the community through IGDA extremely quickly. I mean, Gameloft, nobody likes Gameloft really. I mean, okay, we do great games, they do great games, but they're very good at copying existing genre, existing mechanics, and just putting very top-notch art on that. So I would say Gameloft is not regarded as a very exciting company, but even though we opening a studio for Gameloft, everybody was like, this is great, welcome, come to IGDA, let's have a beer in the bar. And that was super, super nice, really super nice. One thing about, you get people coming from outside, even yourself, you might come from Russia to Helsinki and settle with your family. And we had two things that works very well. The first one is somebody at the office took the responsibility, not only to welcome the employee, but also the spouse of the employee. So the whole family feels that it's a great idea to come to Finland, not just the employee. And then you get the spouse at home, the wife or the husband saying, what am I doing here? I don't speak the language, I don't understand what's happening, and I'm bored, I want to go back home. So keep the whole family happy. That works very well. The other one is open the doors of your office to the whole family. So people come, they feel part of the experience, of the adventure of moving to Finland. They also see this amazing environment. They see their husband or wife working on some cool ideas. But it's really, really important. And I just wrote it down because for me it was an extremely important point on the success of this studio. What was difficult? Mentioned about the office contract. Tailor-made financial reporting. Paris had very strict financial reporting needs, and Finnish accountant were not very good at understanding what was needed and delivering that. That was a bit too much energy for what it was. Internet setup I mentioned, fine artist, art director, and free-to-play specialists. Free-to-play specialists, we had this impossible to find anybody that is a free-to-play, a game free-to-play specialist on the market. So you look at bankers, you look at poker players that sees cards and numbers, probabilities and odds. You look at Excel gurus, and you look in the banking industry, anything that is related to numbers. So you convert people from outside the game industry into the game industry to fulfill your needs. In terms of game, understanding the company culture, Gameloft culture, as you are a small studio outside, a little bit far from Paris, understand the company's production framework, I mentioned about it, and align the roles and responsibility. And all in all, I will say, and this is my last thing I'm going to say, the hardest thing was to stand this pressure of, hey, you come to Finland, the land of Supercell and Rovio, and many others that are really make a difference on the gaming market, on the gaming scene. What are you going to do about it? We're opening a studio, you have to do as good as them, if not better. And this, together, was extremely hard.